If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe. You are a pastor, so if what I'm saying to you does not map on to reality, you'd be hanging up already.
Go ahead. You're live on the air. Go ahead.
Hey. Oh, awesome. So, Rabbi, question for you. I am. It's this time of the year. I'm struggling a little bit with it. My whole life, I was taught that Jesus was my best friend, and I loved him, and that he was going to never leave me or forsake me, and also that he saved me from a place of horror and misery and despair for all eternity. And Rabbi, that thought still plagues me, and it worries me some, because I think to myself, well, what if I'm wrong, and by rejecting Jesus, I've doomed myself to eternal damnation and misery. So how do former Christians like myself get over the fear of hell? That, like I said, there's no escape in the Christian hell. It's there. You're there forever.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm struggling with right now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rev. Go ahead and hang them down to you for your answer. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Rabbi, go ahead.
Yeah, I sure do understand that. I think packed into your question is a number of issues, and it's very difficult for people who come from various religions, when they come to the God of Israel and renounce all other religions, like who was I talking to? I remember meeting a fellow when I lectured in Sao Paulo who'd been praying to Mary all of his life. And he was sure, but he couldn't. What do I do? Like, what do I do with Mary? Do I have to think she's like a bad person or something? And for people who used to worship Jesus, no doubt, this is a very big challenge, because what are you talking about? Was I talking to nobody? Like, who was I talking to? This is very difficult for an ex-Christian. For the person who never was a Christian like myself, you read Tanakh, and then you're at some stage in your life exposed to Christianity, and immediately you recognize that there's no relationship between the core teachings in the church and what the God of Israel expressed through his prophets like Moses and Joshua, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. But you're right, this is the critical way that Christianity is conveyed, and that is through the threat of what's going to happen to you after you die. It is very likely that we are the only creatures on this planet that become very quickly aware that we're going to die. It's so traumatic that most people can't even contemplate their own death for more than a handful of seconds. It means they can say, I'm going to die, and I hope I, live along. But to actually contemplate it, to think about it, it's too traumatic, and people have to change topics in their brain. It is for this reason that religions can exploit this fear, because it's unfalsifiable. And that's why I'd like you to think about what the Torah says when the Torah tells about how to guide our lives and what Hashem wants. There are threats in Tanakh. There are threats. But notice how God speaks to us. He says, look, if you turn away from me, so here's what's going to happen. Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28. It's going to stop raining. And if it stops raining, your land will not give forth its harvest, and you're going to be hungry. If you're loyal to me, one will be able to chase 1,000. So those are the kinds of blessings and curses that we find in Tanakh. Why? because you can verify them. So any religion that's obsessed with death, and almost every religion is, it's not just Abrahamic religions. Hinduism also, what happens after you die? It's like you just keep recycling. And the reason why these are, if you're going to invent a religion, these are the threats you want to use because they're unfalsifiable, untestable. Judaism is turning to the world with a light, and that light is Torah. Don't turn to the Jewish people because you like us, or we've delivered your babies, or directed your favorite movies, or kept you out of jail, or did your tax return. It's the light of Torah. That's the message. Hashem loves you. In fact, there's a special mitzvah in the Torah to have dveikus with Hashem. Dveikus means not just to believe in Him, not just to worship Him, but to be deeply connected to Him, to have a personal relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The role of Christianity isn't to interfere with that. The role of the church is to convey to you that you can't have a personal relationship with God the Father because there's a barrier. What's that barrier? It's your sinful nature that's so attractive to someone whose self-esteem is shattered. You can't go to God because He's so perfect and you're such a sinner. And those of you who have been a Christian or are a Christian, you know I'm not straw-manning this, I'm steel-manning this. This is what is heard every Sunday. And this is the most dangerous thing in the world. This is all idolatry comes from, is telling you, that, Reverend, the way you have a relationship with God is you have a relationship with the intermediary, with 1 Timothy 2:5. The intermediary between God and man, and that's the man Jesus Christ. Why do you need an intermediary? And if I walked, I really would not have to walk far. I could be at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre very quickly from where I am now. I would encounter Orthodox Church, the Roman Catholic Church, Coptic Christians, all over the place. What do they all have in common? Intermediaries, statues, icons, Mary, saints. And you could see it. You see it even on the streets of Yerushalayim. They take icons of the cross and just touch it to people. Why are they doing that? The Torah openly says you should worship nothing that flies in the heavens above or in the waters below, nothing. And they're doing it. They do it. Why? Why do people do it? Are they all that crazy? They're looking for an intermediary. In reality, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be His name, is pleading and saying, I want to be close to you. I love you. There's no one between you and me. But it is a challenge. It is a challenge because you've been taught this since you were a child, for as long as you can remember. I envy you. I really do. Why? Because it's not only that I've never been a Christian. Christianity always seemed very strange to me. And the more I learned about it, the stranger it appeared. And I envy you because you're so fortunate. You could say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look, I was raised in the church. Before I went to bed every night, my mom would pray with me to Jesus or through Jesus. I go to sleep at night praying to Jesus, know that Jesus is there and He talked to me. But I know this is avodah zarah, it's idolatry. And it was my imaginary friend. But I don't want the imaginary friend anymore. I want the real friend. I'm tired of selling out for something that's imitation, that gives you a momentary pleasure. It does. It's just not eternal. So what the Torah is saying to you is, why go for the temporary affection with an imaginary friend who isn't there? Go for the real thing. Some Christians frequently ask me the question, like, what do I do with Jesus? Was He a bad guy or not? Like, what do I have to believe about? Like, who was Jesus? Whenever someone asks me who was the real Jesus, like, was he a rabbi? That person was a Christian. And what are they trying to do? Listen very carefully. I'll show you how traumatic this is. So people who were Christians worshiped Jesus. They believed he was the Son of God, prayed to him, through him, talked to him all the time. And then they discovered through Tanakh, through the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, through the God of Israel, that there's no relationship at all between Jesus and what Mashiach is, and there's none of that. So people want to know, what do I do with him? Am I supposed to not like him? Is there another folder? Maybe in my desktop, I can create a folder, right-click, new, and just call them, and create a folder called Nice People Who Are Just Misunderstood, and then put Jesus in there from the Messiah folder. Like, do I have to delete him completely? This is the agony that former Christians go through. I envy former Christians because you know what the reward is? To say to Hashem, I love you, I renounce all idolatry, I worship you alone, I bow to you alone, my tongue praises you alone, no one else. I renounce it. I will never be able to be in that predicament. To me, it was never attractive. Wow, to the former Christian, Imamish Koino Elam Haba, you acquire an eternity with HaKadosh Baruch Hu just in that moment. For me, it's not attractive. So I say this to you, all idolatry and every iteration of Christianity, the religion you're so familiar with, seeks to place an intermediary between you and God. It's the advantage that Christianity has is it exploits our low self-esteem, which is our worst vice. We look in the mirror, we don't see someone attractive. We wonder, would God really forgive me? After all, there are people who've hurt me that I haven't forgiven. Perhaps he'll never forgive me. And the church exploits that, weaponizes that, and affirms that. The Navi says, no, you don't get it. Hashem is saying, I love you. I want to be close to you. One of the 613 mitzvahs is to have devekus, which means a deep, intimate connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The only thing is Hashem is saying one thing. It's you and me in the marital chamber, no one else. No text messages, no birthday cards to your ex-girlfriend, none of that. It's just you and me alone. And that's Isaiah 54. The Lord is your husband. And that's why idolatry is characterized as adultery in Tanakh. Why? Because you're introducing another lover in your life. Hashem says, you're only mine. That's it. Lo yilcho elihim acherim al panai. Don't have anyone else. So I say this to you. The time is now to bow before the God of Israel and to ask him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please, I need help. You know, people who smoke cigarettes, so when they quit, their clothing still smells from the tobacco. And former smokers really want very much not to have that smell. People who quit smoking and save their lives, early on, frequently enjoy the smell, the fragrance of cigarettes. They won't smoke because they don't want to die, but they pass someone smoking, they smell it. What do ex-smokers hope? They say, oh, please, God, keep me away from that cigarette. May it be that I would find the smell, even the scent, the odor of tobacco repulsive. And that's what happens. Eventually, ex-smokers become sick just being around a cigarette. So I say this to you, my dear friend. Hashem loves you. You're his son. You're created in his image. He wants to be so close to you. He just no one else in between. Christianity specializes in placing someone between you and God. Puts you down by saying you are filthy, you are dirty, you are a sinner, you are lost, and there's no effort of yours that could save you. And if what I'm saying to you, I mean, you were a pastor. So if what I'm saying to you does not map on to reality, you'd be hanging up already. But you know, that's exactly what you hear every Sunday. And that's exactly what you don't find in Tanakh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves you and he wants a relationship with you. Now, one other thing I want to share with you, and that is you, rather than God, control the nature or the level, not just the quantity, but the quality of your relationship. There's a very important idea in the Jewish faith. What do you mean, I control my relationship with God? So you have to listen very carefully. In Jewish thought, when there's a relationship, the lesser of the two is the one who controls the nature of the relationship. If I love you and you like me, do we have a love relationship or a like relationship? We have a like relationship. It always takes on the lesser of the two. Know this, you can never hope to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu as much as he loves you. Never hope. Because his love is infinite. His mercy is infinite. That's why it's so important. He's one alone, no other. So therefore, you can never hope to love Abba, our Father, as much as he loves you. You and I will always be the lesser of the two in that intimate relationship. And therefore, we control it. It's up to us to intensify our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to block out all the idolatry from the past. Get rid of that stench. That's why Isaiah repeatedly speaks about wash yourself, touch nothing unclean. What does he mean? It means get rid of all the old fragrance of those old relationships. Don't let the church seek to place intermediaries between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He loves you so much, and he just wants to be close to you and you alone. Shalom. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ועת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא